Hello again and welcome to today's video for Undercover Kitty / UK Media. Today I want to talk a little bit about gender politics and gender identity and the presumption of guilt or innocence as it relates to our usual radical left-wing nutcases. It seems to be that the latest flavor of the month going on with the professional protesters right now is to have high-profile, usually white males, accused of some sort of sexual impropriety, fact or not, and of course that immediately destroys whatever career that person may or may not have had. We saw that earlier, although he was not a white male. We saw that with Jian Ghomeshi, and remember, that went to trial. Even the judge made it very clear in the case of that particular trial that the women who made the case were fabricating the stories and basically made them out to be outright liars. He got acquitted. Out of that, of course, you had the whole We Believe Survivors movement that spawned out of that. Several other cases have come up since then. I'll speak to one specifically in a moment. But usually it revolved around, again, like I said, higher profile people. We had sports personalities involved, media moguls, the Harvey Weinstein case. Again, none of these have gone to trial yet. None of them have gone to court. So there is always the presumption of innocence. However, when it comes to the radical left-wing people, of course, there's no such thing as innocent until proven guilty. You are guilty no matter what, and that is that. Anybody who gets acquitted, of course, is usually not looked upon very nicely, and the usual racist epithets are shown and thrown about that it was usually done by a white supremacist judge and a jury and all the usual garbage that goes along with that. Another recent case, of course, in fact, this happened just this past week, is that in Saskatchewan, a farmer, he happened to be a white male, ended up shooting an Indian who was on his property. I'm not privy to all the facts of the case, so I'm in no position to speak for all the details. But one kid got shot, the guy went to court, and he was found not guilty. Immediately, of course, the radical left-wing people immediately pounced on that and say, oh, white supremacist that, racist this, racist that. One thing that they are, of course, forgetting is that the person was found not guilty by a judge and a jury who all heard the same evidence, who all agreed that the person was, in fact, not guilty. But to the radical left-wingers, that's not good enough. You are automatically guilty if you are a white male. That is the premise that they absolutely work on. Except if you happen to fall into one of their preferred so-called marginalized groups. Remember I said on the onset of this video that you're automatically guilty, and they even came up with their We Believe Survivors. So in all these other cases, you supposedly had survivors who were part of so-called marginalized groups, except the Brent Hawks case. Now, he is a famous Toronto priest who was also accused of sexual improprieties. Now, he went to court. He was also found not guilty. But wait a minute. Didn't these same professional protesters just say in a whole bunch of other stuff that we believe survivors? So why is it then that Brent Hawks, who was also accused of these type of crimes, not so much as a peep of protest was in fact levied against him? Oh, right, he belongs to a so-called marginalized group. Right, and of course you can't, marginalized people in marginalized groups can't possibly be guilty of any sort of crimes. Now, in fairness, Brent Hawks was found not guilty. He probably was not guilty, and I'm certainly not here to question one's guilt or innocence. I'm simply here questioning, the only thing, in fact, I'm questioning is the validity of the statement of some of these so-called nutcase social justice warriors who clearly have absolutely no concept of reality, no concept of the justice system. So what we have here is basically identity politics, trying to dictate to all of Canadians exactly who is and isn't guilty even before they go to trial. You can accuse anybody of anything you want. Naturally, if you're a white male, and especially if you're a white male in a position of power, the chances of an accusation levied against you these days are going to be obviously a lot higher, regardless of whether they're fact-based or not, and they usually aren't. But even if they are, remember, none of these have gone to trial yet, but according to certain people you talk to, you are guilty, and that is that. Whether the courts find you innocent is completely irrelevant to these people. In their minds, you are guilty, and that is all that counts. So we have absolutely lost any sense of presumption of innocence in here, because the social justice warriors simply like to run rampant. The politicians that support them aren't running out there and making media statements saying, "Oh no, this is not true," because media found them guilty. They're actually silent, and basically, well, their silence is basically an acceptance of what these people are actually saying. So we've got to keep in mind here that these social justice warriors are really nothing more than a bunch of ketamine-addicted, basement-dwelling, unshowered, unbathed, unlaundered bunch of morons who have absolutely no concept of reality. All they want are things handed to them, and when things don't go their way, they go out there having their stupid little temper tantrums, and until they get what they want, they're going to keep having temper tantrums. Whether they're right or not is completely irrelevant, because to these people there's no such thing as them being wrong. They're the only ones who can be right. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're a white male. Keep in mind the fact that there's a good chance that at some point in your life, especially in this day and age, some fucked up little bimbo is going to try and accuse you of something that is so far from the truth that it's not even conceivably possible that it would have happened, but in their mind it's going to happen, and that's all that counts. Yeah, your career is going to be ruined, your life is going to be ruined, but that's completely irrelevant to them. They don't care, because if you're a white male, you have no rights to exist in their opinion. So I just want people to keep that in mind, and basically that's all I have to say on this subject. So until next time, this is UK Media / Undercover Kitty saying goodbye for now.